Track Wrestling here in Fresno, California, women's freestyle world team training camp with two-time world silver medalist Alli Ragan. I guess, first of all, Alli, we were talking a little bit off camera about you moving to Iowa City. You've been there for a little bit more than a year. What are some of the things that you've gotten out of your training with the Hawkeye Wrestling Club?
Right, I mean, besides the great coaches, obviously the brands are amazing, Perry's amazing, but just going in that room, you can't not be motivated, you know what I mean? So everyone's out there working hard, doing their own thing, worry about being the best version of themselves, and you kind of like feed off that energy. So it's really, once you get in there, you're just going to work. So I think it's really motivating to be in that room, and everyone's just working hard, so you got to get with the program, you know?
What prompted the decision to go out there?
I mean, obviously, Corey Clark's my boyfriend, so that definitely was something, you know, taking our relationship to the next step, but also just being, I've been at the training center. I've been at the training center for 3 years, so I'm like, do I stay here, you know, just like working out a new like training facility, and then when Tom came to me, it was almost seemed like a no-brainer. So definitely, last year was a good balance of being there for a little while, and then going to the OTC and getting a feel from the girls. So I think it's definitely a good balance to go back and forth, and being at RTC and exposing yourself to great coaches like that, it's awesome. Corey
was obviously in your corner for Final X, and I know he's a wrestling junkie. How much discussion is there outside the room about technique, this or that, mentality, stuff like that?
I mean, it's definitely good to learn from him. I'll drill with him sometimes and get like great feels and stuff like that. And I mean, we don't just leave the rest. Like, we watch a lot of film and stuff at home. So we're both wrestling junkies. So we'll be up like watching Europeans and stuff like that, or just like video on Aliyah or Chamizo, stuff like that. So I think we just kind of have that same interest.
You guys recently had the first all-girls camp in Iowa City.
Yeah.
What did you take away from that experience, being part of that? How big is something like that for the future of girls wrestling?
I mean, growing up for me, every time I'd go to a camp, I'd have to go with my whole guys team, and I'd probably be the only girl out of like 500 guys, you know? So I think that definitely for those girls to be around other girls and getting to train with other girls is amazing. I would always be the last one without a partner because no one wanted to go with the girl, you know? So I think girls being around girls, and then girls having girls clinicians is also huge as well. So, I mean, there were like 5 of us that were senior level athletes for like 8 girls, you know what I mean? So I think that camp's definitely going to keep growing and growing, and it's just an awesome experience for those girls.
Tremendous growth right now on the women's front. How much do you pay attention to what's going on when other states are getting sanctioned and more women's programs are popping up? And what do you think that means for long-term growth in the sport?
I think it's huge. I'm from Illinois, so I hope that Illinois is going to jump on board soon. We've got a huge growth right now, so I think that it's coming soon for Illinois. Because Missouri just did it, you know, so hopefully Illinois, Iowa, just all those Midwest really, really hard boys schools. You know, Iowa's a great boys school for high school. Illinois is a great high school boys state, you know, and it's hard for those girls to want to go out and wrestle when you're going to wrestle against, you know, a top guy in your state, or even be able to make the lineup is super hard. So I think that girls against girls is only an addition to the sport. So I think that the growth of girls wrestling will also grow men's wrestling, you know, so I think they come hand in hand, and especially for the Olympic movement. So I feel like for women Olympic wrestling, it just keeps men's Olympic wrestling around too. So I think the quality is huge going forward as well.
Who are some of the women that you looked up to when you were coming up, when you were growing up?
Patricia Miranda was one of my favorites, and Chun was one of my favorites too. So, I mean, Chun's our coach now, so I was like super geeked to have her, because she was definitely one of my role models, but also Patricia Miranda was one of my favorites too.
What's it like being in that role now for other young girls?
I guess I don't really look at it as a role. Maybe I should more, but I feel like if I'm taking care of my business, then they'll see that, and, you know, maybe leading by example. I'm not like super vocal like, hey girls, you know, there's a big opportunity here, but I think that if I'm worried about myself and putting the best into my workouts and effort, then I think the girls will see that too.
Couple world silvers the last couple years. What will it take to get you to the the top step of the podium?
Definitely, I mean, bringing my whole 100% to the mat. I think I fell short in the finals of the last 2 years, and I think just that last match was just, I wasn't myself out there. So I think that putting that whole tournament together and really bringing me out to the mat when it comes time for finals or every single match, it's all important.
Pretty interesting group of girls on the team, the young ladies on the team this year. A lot of turnover, or some turnover, I should say, a little bit. Some members of the team that had won matches at high level, won medals at high levels. They didn't make the team this year. I think it speaks to depth that's maybe growing in the system. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you got to keep evolving in the sport, So I think that being on your A game also, you could have got a medal in the past, but what are you doing now? What are you doing this year to better yourself? So I think, we have a lot of depth from our team, especially at certain weights. So I think that you got to bring it every time. So trials, it's not just going to be something that's automatic, I had a really tough girl in my trials, so I'm like, hey, I got to bring it. So it's not just, you should worry about, winning worlds and stuff like that. That should be your goal, but hey, you got to make the team first. So I think that that's huge, and I mean, Final X was awesome. We got to see some great matches with the girls, so it definitely shows our depth.
A lot of different countries represented out here this week. Your thoughts on that, on having some other people that will probably be in your bracket in Budapest in this room training with you. I know you guys go overseas a lot and get a lot of different looks over there. What do you get out of getting your hands on wrestlers from other countries?
That foreign feel is so different from the American feel. So you could go out there and people think it's like JV junk, but sometimes against the foreigners it really works for them, So you get that like funky feel that you're not really gonna feel wrestling American. So it's good to be like, hey, you gotta watch out and be ready in every position. So wrestling through every position is huge with them, or else they're gonna capitalize off of it. So I think it's really good to wrestle foreigners.
I want to bring it back to the beginning, what we talked about at the start of the Hawkeye Wrestling Club. What are some of the things that being in there for a year surprised you, or things that maybe the general wrestling population might not know about what goes on there?
I mean, the typical thing that people think that everyone's a robot in Iowa, but it's definitely not like that. It's a huge family there, and I think there is a lot of fun. Once you're getting to work, hey, put on your shoes on, let's go to work. And they expect 100% of you every day, but outside of wrestling, everyone's a huge family. You're just having fun, and I think everyone really cares about everyone. And the brands are funny, you know what I mean? People don't think that, but everyone's goofy, I don't know, Thomas Gilman isn't just straight up business, neither is Corey. They're all funny, goofy people, so they're great people.